everything calm, right? We're talking about the Communication Studies Department. My name is Veronica Martinez. I am one of the 4 full-time faculty in the Communication Studies Department. We're all going to introduce ourselves as we go, but basically we're here for you, and we're here for anyone watching the video, so that we can talk about anything that you may want to know. If you haven't already got an agenda, there are half sheets up here, so if you want to come grab one. There's also chips and cookies in the back, so feel free to go grab those. But you can see we have a bit of a plan. We're going to talk about classes and degrees and certificates and the forensics team and tutoring and anything you want to talk about. So again, so glad you're here, or so glad you're watching this video. About the video, just so you know, it looks like everyone's pretty comfortable, but just want to let you know the camera is focused on the full-time faculty here. We're not trying to record the audience, although you will be on the recording if you have questions or comments, which we encourage. But as far as the actual video, we're focusing in on the panel, just to let you know. We also want to acknowledge that there are a lot of COM faculty who aren't here, which is our part-timers. We have an amazing department of part-timers. In fact, they teach a lot, if not most of our classes. So I just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to them. You might have one of them as your teacher. So great job to our part-time faculty. So we're here to speak on their behalf, and again, mainly for you. Don't forget to sign in either right now or on your way out. That will give that teacher notice that you came today. So just be sure to sign in at some point. We also have a lot of handouts for you. I see some other ones up front. I might have some more later, so you'll be able to take things away with you. The one thing that I'm going to say now, and I'm going to say it again later, is our QR code. If you forget anything we said today, we have a QR code. I have flyers that I'll bring out later, but it's also right here. And you can check out the QR code anytime, and it'll take you to the website where a lot of this information exists. All right, so that is the backup in case you want to go back and check anything. So again, our agenda is on the little half sheet that you have. Hello. And take breaks when you need to, or get snacks whenever you need to. I also want to take a quick moment to say Happy Earth Week. This is Earth Week all week long, and Chabot does an amazing job on doing a bunch of activities all day, every day. So thank you again for choosing this one, because I know there's Earth Week stuff going on. I also want us to take a really thoughtful moment to recognize we are guests on Native American land. This is traditional territory of the Muwekma Ohlone. We have had them on campus on Monday for the start of Earth Week, and we have a wonderful relationship with them. And it's just good to remember any chance you get that we are guests on this land. So I want to take a moment to recognize that. So I'll start with my quick bio. Again, my name is Veronica Martinez. I teach in the Communication Studies Department, one of the 4 full-timers. I started teaching in 1996, and I started teaching here, I had to look down, 2008 here at Chabot. So I've been teaching for almost 30 years. I still absolutely love what I do. I'm so grateful for the job that I have. By the way, I also have a part-time job teaching group exercise, so all my passions. I'm a Hayward girl. I went to Cal State Hayward, it was called at the time. I went to Chabot to get my GE done, so I'm an alumni. And I went to Mount Eden High School down the street. I went to Southgate Elementary, so I'm definitely a Hayward girl. I also live and spend a lot of time in Hayward, so I probably like a lot of you. I identify as Mexican American, and I'm also an enrolled member of the Ama Mutsun tribe. Ama Mutsun, also part of the Ohlone Postanoan. So before we jump into our first item on the agenda, I wanted to do a quick whip around, meaning I want to just really quick go around and give me just a short phrase of what drew you here today. It could be extra credit. Or it could be something else. Even if you came for extra credit, you might have a thought now and you want to say, you can say something different. Like, I want to know about the degree. That's all you have to say. Or I want to know what careers I can get with a comm degree. So just a really short phrase and just be honest. All right? All right, let's start over here. I know.
I just came here because I'm a comm major and a comm tutor, and I just wanted to see you guys talk because you guys are very special people and they like good at communicating, obviously. But that's what I'm just here.
Nice. Giselle's one of our tutors, so that's why she had a personal connection. All right.
Hi, extra credit and interest, because it hinders me whenever you talk in class, so I want to see what else you have to say.
Cool, thank you, yes.
My friends.
Oh, good, yes.
Extra credit, but I'm also just curious to see what comm majors do.
Oh, nice. Over here, did you?
It's my first semester at Chabot, so I want to major in the future, so I look for some other things.
Oh, nice. Good exploration, good.
I came here because I'm a comm tutor and I want to hear you guys talk about teaching and comms.
Nice. We'll come back up to the front.
Extra credit, and I'm interested about the careers.
Nice, thank you.
Extra credit, and the other day when you were talking about the different comp classes, some of them sounded interesting, so I want to learn more about them.
Perfect, thanks.
Initially for the extra credit, but now that I see the agenda, I do want to know more about the certificates and how it could help me in my career.
Perfect.
I came here for the extra credit.
Okay, cool.
The extra credit in the forensics.
Okay, cool.
The extra credit, but also just how the communications pairs with my degree.
Perfect.
Yeah, same. I'm here for extra credit and just to hear about the forensics and degrees.
Nice. So no one came for the chips? No? All right. Well, it's an added bonus. Okay, so we're going to jump in now. Thank you for that. That helps us do our audience analysis. I'm going to switch it over. I think it is Jason. Is that right? All right. I'll let him introduce himself.
Well, good afternoon, folks. My name is Jason Ames. I am a communication studies instructor here. A couple fun facts. Like many of you, I am also here for the extra credit and because Veronica made me. But I am an instructor here. I've been full-time here since 2005. I'm also alumni from Chabot. I got my degree here before I went to San Francisco State. Also was on the speech and debate team here. I'm also the I am also the sometime director of forensics. Stephanie and I rotate on and off. And so Stephanie is the director right now, and I was director last year. I also have a lot of other duties, but one more fun fact is Veronica was my boss at one point in our career, so that's why she can make me do things like this.
You really have seniority over me here. I actually was his boss. So my journey, just real quick, to communication studies is all about debate. Is that I was a debater in high school, I debated in college, but my actual degree is in sociology and political science. And then I had to make some choices after I graduated. I decided to go to law school, but while I was in law school, I kept coaching the speech and debate team. And finally, somebody really smart pulled me aside and said, "Hey, Jason, you're okay at this coaching thing. You ever thought about it as a job?" And I said, "Yeah, I kind of like it." And then got my degree at Cal State Hayward at the time, and my master's degree in communication studies. So one of the reasons I talk about that is that I like students knowing that even to become a college professor type person, it's sometimes our paths are still a little wavy and windy and circuitous. I also like telling that story too because I think for folks who aren't comm majors, it also shows how valuable comm studies still is in a lot of other places. I most certainly used my comm degree while I was getting, my comm skills while I was getting my degree in sociology. I most certainly used my comm skills while I was in, the one time I was in law school, right? And I can tell you and point to you, just everybody who has taken comm classes uses those skills.
So one of the things that I think we like to talk about is the fact, if you think about water, water always finds its way in, right? Water always finds the little cracks or the crevices. We think communication's a little bit like water sometimes. Yeah, it always finds its way. So with that being said, I want to talk to you all about the certificates and the degrees, because I think there's a lot of ways for you to take your communication studies expertise that you already have and that you bring into the classroom and find a way to use those skills and to show that you have those skills. Because no matter how much technology is used at a program, no matter how much labor is used in a particular program, communication is always going to be valuable. So with that said, you have 4 different options for a degree. One of them is by the way, this is the Chabot College Communication Studies webpage. And all you simply have to do to find it is just go to the search bar of the Chabot webpage and type in Communication Studies, takes you right here. So there are 4 ways in which you can get a degree in communication studies or a certificate. The one is the big one, and so this is for folks who are thinking about being comm majors, is the AAT. So AAT stands for Associate's Degree for Transfer. So this is a promise between you and the Cal State system that you can transfer if you meet these particular classes. So this is in-depth communication studies, right? So you're going to take a whole lot of programs. There are a lot of tools for you here. Sends you to degree work, sends you to counselors and to get appointments with them to make sure that you are on the right path. And then you can see some of the requirements that you have to do to take. And now, this is laid out in a particular path, in a particular pathway. That's literally the term for it, is a pathway. So you don't have to do it in this order. This is just the recommendation for this order. So you start with, general education courses, English, math, always required first. And then you start taking some comm classes. And so some of the comm classes I think recommended here, like Communication Studies 50, which is an overview I'll talk about a little bit later. Comm 1000, which is public speaking, which is our real, which is exactly what it sounds like. And then you start taking courses from particular lists, right? And so here are those lists, okay? So you have to take 2 courses, group communication, interpersonal communication, argumentation, debate. This way you're getting a little bit of a breadth of studies and of knowledge. But again, you still have some choices as to what path you choose. If you're not an argumentation person like I am, and you want to go more towards group communication, interpersonal, you have those options, right? If you want to dip your toe in a lot of different classes and see a lot of different things and see exactly what comm studies is all about, you have those options as well, okay? So then you need to take 2 classes from here, and then you take 1 class from any of these, or classes listed above, right? So it sort of scaffolds up a little bit, okay? So this is how you get the big AAT. This is how you get the degree. You get this, you receive this, you pass this, check with your counselors. You can always come talk to us, but always check with your counselors. Make sure you have everything right, and then you can transfer with a degree in comm. However, if that's not your particular major, but you still recognize the value of communication studies, then you can choose one of the certificates. So there's an interpersonal communication certificate. How many of us know what interpersonal communication is? Cool. So interpersonal is one-on-one, right? So it's when you're having a conversation in the cafe, right? It's when you're talking to a friend about whatever cool show you just watched. I'd like to recommend Pluribus. Pluribus is so good. So good. So Stephanie would also like to recommend. So it's one-on-one communication. So if that's your focus, like things like conflict management, trying to, perception checking, things like that, then you can get that certificate. And we're going to talk about these classes a little bit more in depth. But again, you see if you go to this page, we have all the different courses that you have to take in order to get the certificate. You can see a lower requirement because it's a transfer degree versus a certificate. Does that make sense to everybody? I like to do something in my class. It's either head nods, thumbs up, but also thumb nods are acceptable, right? We're making that happen, just like Gretchen tried to make Fesh happen. Okay. The other certificate is persuasive and rhetorical communication. So again, if one-on-one communications for you, awesome, there's a path. If more standing up here and trying to persuade and convince other folks with your language and communication is your path, this is for you then, okay? But again, you see the top is very similar, and then again, particular classes that you need to take. And you see the focus changes depending on the certificate, okay? The final one is the public speaking and forensics certificate. So this is very much about standing up and presenting, and it's because, as I think maybe we all know, the forensics team is the speech and debate team, the competitive speech and debate team. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed 2 words, didn't I? 3 words, didn't I? The national award-winning competitive speech and debate team.
As of a couple weeks ago.
As of I think our streak is somewhere around 8-9 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a national.
Way to go,
medal.
coach.
Way to go, coach. Hold on, my arm hurt from patting myself on the back there. All right, so, but you can see this is all very much about presentation, standing up here and communicating to larger groups, okay? So whatever you're thinking about communication studies, there is a path for you. And again, one of the reasons I tell my story at the very beginning and about the route I took to get here is because communication studies has so many different places where it fits and where it's established, where it is valuable to you. So even if you're not trying to become a communication major, great. But if you know, that's totally fine. There are options for you. If you're trying to become a major, there's an option for you too. All right.
Can I add a quick suggestion?
I'm done, so please.
If you're here because you're taking a comm class and you've taken at least one other comm class, there's a chance that you're already halfway done with the certificate. So something cool is like, well, hey, I might have not been thinking about this certificate, but I'm already kind of really close and I maybe just need to add 1 or 2 more comm classes to fulfill it. The awesome thing is that certificate stays with you on your resume for life. When you go for jobs and down at your education, you're putting your degree, you can also say, I have a specialized certificate in communication studies in one of these areas, and they all come with like unique benefits when you're interviewing for jobs or programs. So you might have already done half the work. So I always encourage a student to take my class to be like, let's look and see, are you already on your way to a certificate? And then you're really just finishing your GE and getting that certificate at the same time.
And the one more thing I will add, shocking that we're going a little long. We talked, folks. But I do have everything I just showed you up on the screen. I have handouts here for you today.
Nice. So we're going to transition into starting to go into each class. We're going to each take a moment to talk about kind of the areas where we tend to teach, although it really isn't required. We do share the load. We have this wonderful opportunity at Chabot to have so many classes to teach, and we do kind of share the courses, but we're going to start by talking about the classes that we tend to teach in our department. So we're going to move on to Bill. He's going to start with his introduction.
Sure. Where are we speaking by?
Wherever you want.
Wherever. We'll try something new today. I don't usually speak behind the podium, but since I saw Jason do it, I might as well. All right, so I'm here to talk about COMS C1000 first, Introduction to Public Speaking. So just like what the name itself suggests, this class, for the most part, is probably a lot of folks' first foray into the world of communication studies and public speaking, right? So in this particular class, essentially expect not too much writing. There's still writing involved, especially when you're preparing like outlines and such. There's actually quite a bit of reading, specifically when you're preparing for your speeches. But in this class, expect to talk a lot. Yeah, expect to talk a lot, especially if you take kind of classes from me, classes from Jason, classes from the forensic folks. Really, a lot of the focus in Introduction to Public Speaking is centered on foundational communication studies strategies. Yeah. So things like outlining, things like how to speak eloquently, things like how do I use my hands when I'm up there in front of the class? How do I walk, right? How do I transition from idea to idea to idea? So a lot of these foundational strategies we're going to essentially be doing in a lot of different ways. You can do it via speaking activities like impromptu speaking. You can do it by group discussions, pair group discussions, whatever the case may be, right? But really, if you want to boil down, I guess what you could say, like the intangible portion of COM-C 1000, Introduction to Public Speaking, it really is all about building your confidence. You know, public speaking is a big fear for a lot of individuals, myself included. I still remember when I was first told in high school that I had to do a 10-minute speech in front of the class, I ran out the room. And I didn't come back until like later in the semester. You know, so for a lot of individuals, really, introduction to public speaking may be a daunting sort of like task, but understand too, you're probably going to be there with other individuals who feel that same level of intimidation. You're going to be with us who have been doing this for so long that we really are there to make this experience as comfortable, as smooth as possible, right? So COM-C 1000, regardless of what it is that you're going to be doing, is probably going to be your first foray into communication studies. Highly recommend you take it, especially if the idea of public speaking is intimidating for you, because that's the class for it, specifically for that. The next class that I do want to talk about is COM2. It's called Oral Interpretation of Literature. Oral Interp is one of those classes where the name itself doesn't really tell you what it does. It's weird. That's the best thing I can say about oral interpretation, but it's like weird in the best way possible. Yeah. If you've ever well, let me just say this. If you're a drama queen, or a drama king, or an emotional guy, or if you are a theater kid, whatever it is, oral interpretation is probably something you should think about taking. The definition of literature in communication studies is really vast. Oral interpretation of literature can comprise of poems, it can comprise of short stories, it can comprise of books that you've read, it can also comprise of TV shows that you like, just like, what was the show that y'all were recommending again?
Floribus.
Watch that show. I'm a 90s kid, I just watched cartoons all day, so I don't really know much about current day television. But for the most part, literature can also be things like cartoons, can be movies, can be TV shows, it can also be music that you listen to. Anything with words, anything with text, that can be something that you can utilize in this particular class. You're probably asking yourself, how do we utilize it? We're going to utilize those texts by and analyze real-world social issues, right? So rather than kind of writing essays or writing long analysis of socio-political issues, of real-world issues that you feel, instead, what we're going to do in COM2 is we're going to take the words of a lot of the literature that we frequent and use, and we're going to use those texts to make our arguments for us. So here's an example. There was one student who wanted to talk about the issues that Black men face with, when it comes to finding jobs. Yeah. And so what this particular student did was he utilized the entirety of Kendrick Lamar's filmography to make his argument for him. Yeah. And so I think that's the beauty of oral interpretation of literature, right? And that is you are interpreting the overall validity and effectiveness of any given piece of literature, and you're using it to make a real-world social argument. And so I know I said a lot about COM2. It's weird, if there's anything that I want you to think about, but it is something that invites creativity. Yeah. And so for folks who have a lot of favorite movies, TV shows, texts, literature that they want, if you feel like you want to do something with that, if you want to act it out, if you want to read it out loud, if you want to rap along Kendrick in the class, go ahead and maybe think about being a part of COM2. And again, bringing it back to COM-C 1000, Introduction to Public Speaking, also something that you probably should really push yourself to doing, because it is a viable thing to work with.
And if you get to take COM2 with Philip, you get to take it with an award-winning oral interpreter. So Philip probably doesn't want to toot his own horn, but he is award-winning for oral interpretation, which is what you would learn in that class. So pretty awesome opportunity to get to do that here at Chabot.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to talk about a few other classes, and I just want to point out that hopefully you get inspired by some of these classes and or certificate. I brought our schedule for fall, and so you can see who teaches, when they teach. You can even think about adding some of these to your schedule for fall. So I want to talk about COM3, COM10, and COM11. They tend to be what I teach. Again, not exclusively, but they tend to be kind of the area that where my passions lie. So I'm not necessarily the argumentation person. I'm so glad my colleagues are. That's not me. I'm usually the person that is looking at different contexts. So for example, group communication. This is part of the catalog, but I'm just going to put it in my own words. If you are the person that when you hear a teacher say, okay, time for group work, and you go, oh, this class is actually for you, because it will talk about those obstacles or what makes it kind of hard, and we talk about how to do it a little easier. How do I succeed in my group work? Because it's going to be part of your life forever, whether it's working with friends or family or departments in your job. Groups are a part of our lives, and being successful in a team or a group is what this class is about. If you love group work, this class is also for you. All right, so we look at collaborative problem solving, we look at group theory, we look at how different people in groups communicate or have different frames of reference. And we also really focus on how to listen to one another. You're going to see that that's repeated in a lot of any of our comm classes, actually. Listening is a big thing for us. So the next class that I teach a lot is interpersonal communication. You might not know that this class exists. We think of comm as public speaking, but there is a class that actually looks at the intimate relationships in your life, like friendship, romantic relationships, colleague communication. This week in my class, we were talking about romantic relationships. How do you start to meet someone? How do we flirt? What happens when things don't go well? How do you handle a breakup? And so forth. So that's the kind of stuff, you may not have realized there was a class on this, but it's interpersonal communication. And again, it's about listening, it's about theory, it's about different frames of reference, and it's about practicing all of that, demonstrating how to be in those types of relationships. And then finally, intercultural communication. Comm 11 is really important right now. All these comm classes are, but in our headlines every day, we're seeing difficulty and challenges and obstacles with communicating with people from different backgrounds, whether it's about race or culture or gender or a variety of other differences. We're having trouble communicating across cultures. This is the class that talks about that. This is the class that talks about whether it's somebody sitting right next to you with a different frame of reference or someone in your community in a different state or in a different country. We talk about how do we communicate with people who grew up differently than I did, right? So it's so important to look at patterns of behavior, values, beliefs, to look at those different communication systems, to learn how to listen and respond, and to apply just the theory and practical strategies are in communication around those in that area. So those are a few classes that you may not have realized are part of the communication department. And I'll just say this last plug that getting a degree or certificate is awesome, but most people say it helps you personally. This class changed my life. This degree changed my life. I like Jason's analogy better. He said water, we say cult. That's better. Giselle's laughing because we talk about that all the time. Not a great way to say it. That's better, say with water. But this is because it changes lives. Yeah. All right, next.
Who's next?
You.
Me? Great. All right. Philip challenged me to not speak in front of the podium. It's just this computer was over there. All right, ready? We've been talking at you for a little bit. Let's talk with each other for a second, okay? What makes somebody persuasive to you?
Credibility.
Credibility. What else?
Emotion.
Emotion. So somebody who's emotional about their topic. Awesome. Thank you.
Confidence.
Confidence. Can we dig into that just a second? Hi, by the way. Confidence. What makes somebody seem confident when they're presenting?
Tone of voice, the way they carry themselves, how much facts they're presenting, the resources cited, etc.
So it's delivery and content, I'm hearing? Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Yes.
I would definitely agree. I would say flow as well as body language.
Okay, yeah. So again, verbal, nonverbal communication, delivery, content, anything else?
Practice.
Practice, definitely, right? That definitely helps. We have a phrase in my classroom, it's not practice makes perfect, it's practice makes better, right? Because I don't think there's a such thing as a perfect speech, right? You're never going to persuade everybody. I think even the greatest speakers of all time haven't persuaded everybody in the space, right? So practice makes better, not perfect necessarily. Great. Why am I asking this question? These are great ideas, folks. Appreciate y'all.
So all related to communication.
It's all related to communication, right? Particularly Communication Studies 20, which is persuasive communication. So Philip was talking about C1000, which is public speaking. Persuasive communication is a sibling of that class, in that where you take a speech that you have to do in C1000, persuasive speaking. How many of us have done a persuasive speech yet? A persuasive speech? How many of us? Yeah? You have the elevator pitch counted. Right? So a lot of us have done persuasion, right? And there's clearly a difference, not only in tone, but in content from informative to persuasion. And so that's what Com 20 looks into. What's the difference between the informative speech you do in C1000 and the persuasive speech you do in that class? And there's a difference, right? And y'all just told me that, right? So there is a difference. So Com 20 looks into what is persuasion, what is rhetoric, how do we make an argument? What did ancient folks talk about persuasion? What does modern, more persuasion look like now? I roll mass media into my persuasion classes. I roll social media into my persuasion classes, right? Because that's all communication. That's all looking at how do people convince or influence to go from here to here, or from sometimes here to here even, right? So that's what Com 20 looks at, is it takes what you do in Com 1000 and digs. And it digs into the theory, digs into the reasons why. Why do certain people consistently persuade other people over and over and over again? Accident? No. Strategy, theory, practice, good communication skills. So that's what Com 20 looks into. So that is, in case you can't tell, a class that I actually brought to the campus and I love teaching. I've taught that class for a long time and I kind of get upset when other people teach. Not upset, jealous. Jealous. Yeah. Jealous is the better word.
We are passionate.
So the other, any questions on Com 20? Cool. The other class that I enjoy teaching is a class that really reflects a lot of, I think, what we're talking about when it comes to communication studies. It's more than public speaking. And in fact, over a decade ago, we decided as instructors to change our division from speech communication to just communication studies. And the reason why is because we do so much more than just standing up here and speaking, as Veronica was talking about, as Philip was talking about, as Steph's going to talk about, right? Is we do so much more. And there's so much more than just speaking and outlining and research. There's theory involved. There's reasons why. And also there's different levels of communication and who you're communicating to and why you're communicating to them. So Communication Studies 50, which is Introduction to Communication Studies, is the big overview of the course. So of the discipline, right? It's the big overview of all the things we do in communication studies. And Veronica gave me credit for a better word earlier. I'm going to give her credit for a word for the way that we describe this class. Is we talk about this class as being islands, right? It is that like we think of communication studies as like an archipelago. I just wanted to use that word today. So like it's a whole bunch of different islands, and we jump on the cruise boat and we go to every different island. So we'll go to interpersonal island, we'll go to intercultural island, a persuasive island, a public speaking island. We're mass media island right now, right? And so we go to all these different islands to look at all the different ways communication studies has power and impact in all the different classes that you can take on the campus. So it's a really good introduction course, especially if you're a comm major, especially if you're thinking about a certificate. It's really good to say like, okay, I know I want to learn how to communicate better. I know communication's super important, but exactly what am I interested in? Well, stop here. Take a stop here, take a stop here. And then when you find out that you love interpersonal communication, that's when you take Comm 10. Or you love oral, you love oral communication, well, take 20, take 46, right? So it really helps you figure out what classes you want to take. So communication studies 20, more about persuasion, digs deep. Comm 50 is about all of this that we talk about, so you can learn what you want to dig deep into.
Thanks, Jason. I'm right next to the podium, so I'm just gonna move on over. I will say also that Comm 50 is also a great class to take as your capstone class at the end of your experience. So maybe you knew all along, like, this is the comm I'm into, but you kind of avoided some of those other comm classes. I did that when I was doing my minor. It's a great way to be like, all right, I get to know a little bit about everything, and maybe there's something I want to explore more when I transfer, or just have like a nice, well-rounded knowledge of comm studies. So let me introduce myself because I actually haven't done that yet. I am Stephanie Eisenberg. Like Jason said, I am the current director of the forensics team, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. I am also a community college graduate. So I went to school at LA Valley College down in Los Angeles. Was not interested in communication studies at all. I was an anthropology major, and I got my bachelor's and my associates in anthropology. But what I loved about anthropology was the study of culture. And I also got recruited by a teacher to join speech and debate in my community college. I had never done it in high school, and I ended up transferring to SF State and was like, I kind of want to give this speech and debate thing a try. I ended up like drinking the Kool-Aid and loving it. But I still wanted to study culture. And what I found, and something that I'm going to love to share with you about this next class I'm going to tell you about, is that you can do that in comm studies. So if you're a sociology person, if you're an anthropology person, if you're a poli-sci person, there is stuff for you in comm. And once I found that out, what my favorite thing about comm as opposed to some of those other social sciences is it's so vast and multimodal. And what I mean by that is there are lots of different ways to study, for example, culture, whereas some of those other disciplines might be a little stricter in the methods that you have to use. So one of my favorite classes to teach, which I'm teaching right now, is Comm 12. Which is a really unique class for a community college. It's usually a class you don't get to take until you've transferred in your upper division. It's gender, sexual identity, and communication studies. So we actually have another certificate. It's not a comm certificate. It's a campus-wide interdisciplinary certificate called Women's Studies. And Comm 12 qualifies for that certificate. It also has classes from sociology, ethnic studies, things like that. It also fits the current Cal GETSI for the cultural ethnic studies category. So it's a really awesome class. It's very similar to intercultural in that if you replace culture with gender and sexual identity, we're looking at a lot of the same things. We're looking at creating language just to talk about what gender and sexual identity is. We're looking at how do people of different genders communicate with each other? How do we know about those things? What are some of the stereotype threats that exist in that space? And so I really love teaching that class. Veronica and I usually teach it. We switch off because we both love it. We don't want to give it up. But if you're interested in women's studies, if you're interested in gender, if you're just interested in learning more, I have students who are like, I'm from another place or another cultural background where we don't talk about gender and sexual identity. So it's a place to get a foundational language for just how to talk about those things. And it's a really cool class, very interactive to take and to add to your background. But where my bread and butter is here is in argumentation and debate. So like I said, I kind of got by the speech and debate bug. I did not like public speaking, I think, until I started doing it. So my favorite, my class that I always teach, at least one section of every semester, is Comm 46. I have a bunch of Comm 46 students here right now because I'm giving them extra credit. So that is argumentation and debate. If you are interested in potentially being a lawyer, being an advocate for a social issue that you care about, you're interested in just being better at having strong arguments with people that you interact with at your workplace, and when I say argument, I don't mean like fight, right, or disagreement. In fact, in argumentation and debate, our goal is to come to conclusions through seeking out truth through our words and through our evidence. So that's a really great class for you. Some of us are like, yeah, I was always starting fights with my siblings. Come to the class, you'll love it. So it's a lot of debating, but it has two parts. So there's argumentation. That's where we learn just how to craft an argument. Even if you don't like the back and forth of debate, you're gonna learn a lot about how to advocate for an issue you care about. That ties into persuasive speaking. There's a reason that those are like together in that certificate. But we also learn how to do formalized debates so that we can, and you get to be on both sides of an issue in the class usually. So you get to do what's called switch side debating and kind of learn how to see from the perspective of others. So it might sound like a class where your job is to win, but really your job is to foster understanding and find the best path through use of evidence. It used to count, and I believe it will still count in the future for for the critical thinking requirement, because we do the same thing that you do in a critical thinking English class. We utilize evidence, but instead of writing long essays, you're speaking out those arguments in debates. That brings me to Com 48, which is also the class for our forensics team. So the word forensics, what do most of you think of when you think of that word? Like if I said the word forensics, what do you think of?
CSI.
CSI, good. My debate partner in college actually joined the class on accident because she thought it was CSI. Ended up staying, we debated together and ended up becoming national champions together. So that was really awesome. So in CSI, they seek truth through evidence. It just happens to be like dead bodies and artifacts and stuff. In forensics, we seek truth through rhetoric and evidence that is based on like studies and things like that. Remember how I said in 46, your goal is not to win? In forensics, your goal is to win. However, your success in forensics has nothing to do with your wins and your losses. So anybody who is interested in getting like hands-on real world experience in speaking persuasively, so basically take all of the types of speeches you might do in your other classes. We've got oral and turn, we've got persuasive speaking, we've got informative speaking, we've got debate, we've got multiple types of debate. All of these events actually have a national circuit, just like all of our sports teams here at Chabot, where we get to compete against other colleges, both 2 and 4 year, and do competitive speech and debate. So if you don't know what forensics means, it's just a fancy word for the speech and debate team. It's kind of an interesting class because it's somewhere between a class, a club, and a sports team. The way it's a class is that you literally earn units for taking it. It's part of a certificate, it's part of your degree, and there can be, general units as well, like elective units. The way it's like a club is that it's very kind of free form, it's very closely knit. We all are mostly friends outside of the class, and there's no like tests or like homework other than the work that you do to be competitively successful. And then it's kind of like a sports team because the school pays to travel you to tournaments, whether that's locally, whether that's, far away in the state like LA and we stay at a hotel, or we just sent 2 students to Washington, DC for nationals. You don't pay anything. So the college pays, all you have to do is enroll in the class, college pays for your travel and your entry fees, and we take you around and you get to compete. The coolest thing about forensics is that everybody has their own personal goals. So whether you want to be a national champion, like our students who just got back from nationals, or whether you just want to overcome your fear of speaking in public, this is a great way to do it. And it's almost like contract-based learning. So you get to sign up, and I'm the current forensics director. So if you have any personal questions about your journey, ask me now or later in the hall or whatever. But you get to choose your goal and then you work to meet your own goal. So it's a really unique class in that it's really self-directed, but you get lots of support. Giselle is actually on our team and has been for the past couple of years. And I will say it's unlike any experience that you'll get to have while you're here at Chabot. So we're gonna have an event. We have 2 events coming up. The first one is on Thursday, April 30th, so next Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Doors are at 5 over by the Little Theater. It's in room 1224. It's like a big music rehearsal hall. We're gonna do a showcase. So we're gonna show you an oral interpretation piece. We're gonna show you a platform, a persuasive speech. We're gonna show you some limited prep events like impromptu speaking. And we're gonna have a full debate with audience suggestions and everything. And hopefully your teachers are offering you lots of extra credit to go to this. So we have this coming up next week. It's pay what you can, $5 to $10 adjusted donation, but nobody will be turned away. And then we're also going to be hosting a rookie mini debate tournament, so you can get us an idea of what forensics might be like and if it's something you might be interested in. So I don't want to take up too much more time with that stuff, but if you have any questions or are interested, come see me after, or Giselle, and we'll give you the lowdown on forensics. So that's my stuff. And I'm going to pass it back off to Veronica.
Actually, Dee, if you don't mind, real quick, I'm going to add a couple things just because, like we mentioned, Stephanie and I do rotate in and out of coaching forensics. And I coached for somehow, some way, I'll say it this way. I've somehow, some way been involved on the speech and debate team for 30 years now. Whether it was a competitor.
Fun to say out loud.
We have different definitions of fun, but either as a competitor or as a coach. And I can tell you, I know a lot of you when we did the whip, the move around there, that a lot of you talked about careers and we're interested in careers for comm. I can tell you that one, I giggled a little when Stephanie said law and advocate, because I know so many people, including former students, who are in the law or who are advocates for a company or a nonprofit who were in forensics on the speech and debate team.
I once got a job I was totally unqualified for because the old lawyer guy at the office was like, "Oh, you're on the speech and debate team? You're hired. You're smart. You have the skills that I want."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no joke. And that includes some former students who are actually working here on campus. And I had a conversation with a former student the other day who went to Berkeley and straight up told me that forensics was one of the best things she ever did because it helped her for Berkeley. And I told her that you are not the first, second, or third person to tell me this. That they even said that some of the things they did on the speech and debate team were way more challenging than the classes they took at Berkeley. So the argumentation skills, the debate skills, the communication skills, again, just the way those weave themselves into your career and your life is just so incredibly valuable.
I want to add something too, since we're on that too.
Ex-competitor.
Yeah, I'm also an ex-competitor.
Yeah, 3 former forensics competitors.
I can safely say literally every job that I've ever had in my life was directly because of me being a part of the forensics team. Outside of the skills that you gain from it, I think one of the most valuable things that I got from it too was the connection.
Yes.
Just the fact that you're there connecting with your teammates, the fact that you're traveling from college to college, from state to state, and kind of networking and building connections with not just folks here at Chabot, folks here at other community college, folks here at other UCs, that's invaluable, right? Those connections lead to so many things, right? It's the idea of planting seeds and then that seed growing into something that is kind of bountiful and beneficial for you. So outside of those skills, those connections are incredibly, incredibly valuable.
And there's scholarships to some private
schools. So yeah, you get to save money. There it is. Thank you. That's it. That's
Love
my
it.
Thanks, Beach.
Yeah. We're so passionate about our stuff. I just love this subject. So I am only going to spend a couple of minutes talking about the communication lab because I want to bring Philip back up here in a minute to talk about really briefly career options. We are going to have another panel though talking about career options. So look for more information on that. But what I want to talk about is our tutoring center. And everything we just talked about may not be easy for folks. It wasn't for me. Similar to what Stephanie said earlier about this was not on my radar as a major or a career when I was younger, when I was in college. I was extremely shy and people had to kind of pull me into this until I realized, oh, this is transformative. But for any of you, to whatever degree that a class might have some challenge, whether it's anxiety or the content or just refining your skills, we have a tutoring center for you. It's not even just for comm classes, it's actually for any class on campus where you have to get up and present yourself. We have tutors to help you. We have actually a couple of tutors here today, if they can stand up real quick. Our comm tutors. Yay! Yay, thank you so much. I put him on the spot. And we have a lot more wonderful tutors, but here's one of our flyers that we have. If you have any of these challenges, anxiety, you can't find a topic, you can't organize your thoughts, maybe you're looking for credible sources or working on visual aids, or you need to rehearse with someone, or or anything else that might come up. The Comm Lab is for you, right? Because you want to deliver an organized, credible, dynamic presentation, right? You want to get an A on that presentation. So come by the Comm Lab. We're right next door. It's room 803. If you go outside the hallway, you'll see a glass cabinet on the wall, and you'll see our schedule. You'll see all the tutors and their bios. And so you can drop in anytime, totally free. You don't need an appointment. Drop by anytime and continue to remember it, not just this semester, but as long as you're here at Chabot, you can drop by the Comm Lab and get help with anything you need. We're going to transition to Philip, but I also want to say again, if there's a lot that we're covering, remember there's a QR code where you can get more information. I'm also going to put out my business cards so that you can contact me if you need to. But now let's talk to Philip.
Going for that number one. Here, I'll go here. So, communication studies is incredibly versatile. I think the visual of communication studies as an archipelago is really beautiful because in taking or being a communication studies major, you can go into any number of different islands. You can go to an island of law, you can go into an island of medicine, you can go into the island of media, but that vastness sometimes is a little overwhelming. I think there's a caveat to that too, right? And communication studies, I feel like, needs to be intentional. You need to ask yourself, what can I do with the skills that I've learned in communication studies? Where can I put those particular skills to the test, so to speak? Yeah. And so, although that range itself can be kind of overwhelming, I'm here to maybe help make it a little bit easier for you to navigate, right? So I'm going to talk to you about Philip's patented 3 C's. Yeah, communication studies can take you to corporate, civic, or connection. Yeah. When you think about corporate, think about things like human relations. Yeah, think about individuals that specialize in marketing analysts, marketing majors. When you think about civic, think people who people who keep businesses running. You can also think about it in terms of civic. Did I say corporate? Actually, I was talking corporate, now I'm talking civic. When you're talking civic, think people who because no speech is perfect, I forgot what I was going to say. The people who shape public conversation, right? So this is where you can think about folks like public relations specialists, right? Stephanie was talking about the individuals who go into law, for example, right? Communication studies is one of the most popular undergraduate majors for individuals who are seeking jobs in the law field, who want to become attorneys, who want to become politicians, individuals who want to shape policy, right? So civic, think of it as people who shape public conversation. The last C is connection, and that one I think is really special. Think of connection as individuals whose work necessitates humanity. Yeah. So think of individuals like us, professors, educators, right? Think of also individuals who work alongside other people like patient advocates or individuals in the health communication, health educating field, right? So a lot of these particular C's, although, I simplified it to 3 C's, there are still so many different things that you can do with a communication studies major, right? But the 3 C's can perhaps give you a little bit of guidance for that. So civic, corporate, and connection. outside of that too, even if you feel like communication studies may not be the major for you, I would also implore you to take certificates, right? To still be a part of the forensics team regardless, right? Because I like to think of communication studies, and this is still continuing the archipelago metaphor that we've been using. I like to think of communication studies as like the ultimate side dish. It's like rice. Filipinos like rice. Filipinos come from the Philippines. It's an archipelago. We're still there. It's the perfect side dish, I like to say. Regardless of whatever it is that you're going to do in the future, the skills that you gain in communication studies is going to elevate that particular life that you're going to be leading moving forward, right? So again, you can take this in any direction that you want, but the caveat to that is it necessitates intentionality. Right, you need to be intentioned, and hopefully the C's that I shared with you kind of will give you a little bit more direction moving forward.
And then we're just.
So to wrap up all of this, I want to say a couple of just reminders for the day. First of all, I spread out the flyer here, and there's a little stack of the same flyer at the end. So you can either take a flyer or you can just point to the QR code and take this information along with you. Also, don't forget to grab other flyers or take pictures of things because we have a lot of information to give to you today. Also, don't forget to sign in so that we can let your teachers know that you were here. Also, don't forget to take snacks. I also wanted to say that there are upcoming events. So ask your comm teachers for reminders, or come see our flyers, or come talk to one of us about upcoming events. I also have a flyer with some of the events for this semester. And I'll say this last thing about events. We even have connection to CSU East Bay, and they wanted me to promote a comm class over there. So there's so many things that we can provide, so just let us know what you need. CSU in the fall is offering a film, communication, and culture class. So I'll put this out so that you can check that out if you're thinking of transferring. So lots of wonderful, good information. Finally, I'll say, if we have convinced you to be a comm major or a certificate, we even have the form you can fill out to declare your major. So it's all here. If you want to do that now or later, just let us know if you need any support or help. We're always here in the department to support you.
Can I offer?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be right after this in room 810 holding forensics practice / open office hours. So if anybody who doesn't have a class right now wants to come by, meet us, ask any questions, certificates, forensics, whatever, I'll be there for like the next hour and a half. So consider that like an after session if you want.
Love that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys for coming.
I know some of you have to step out, but if anyone wants to stick around and ask a quick question, anybody want to say